January 2001. A photographer raises his camera and by accident catches a secret hiding in plain sight. The man is FBI agent James J. Smith, and he's with a woman he was never supposed to be seen with, Katrina Leung, an FBI informant, but also his lover, and a secret Chinese spy. Their affair has gone undetected for 20 years. But this single photo would one day help expose one of the FBI's most humiliating counterintelligence scandals.
She's tough, she's cold, she's manipulative.
I think this is all about sex, quite frankly. Free sex at the cost of the government. And then when he got romantically, if you can call it a romance, involved with her, then he went even further down the slippery slope. And there was no turning around.
It's the early 1980s and we're in the thick of the Cold War. But deep inside the FBI's Los Angeles field office, a mid-level agent named James J. Smith, or JJ as he's known, is busy elsewhere. Focusing on the People's Republic of China. Smith is no rookie, a solid agent. He's a decade deep into his work at the FBI. But one day in 1982, JJ is flipping through an old case file and stops at a name, Katrina Leung. Little did he know she would change his life forever. But who is Katrina Leung? Born in southern China in 1954 as Chen Wen-ying, she moved to Hong Kong at age 10, then to the US at 16, slipping in on a fake Taiwanese passport.
My name is Chen Wen-ying.
She adopted an English name, married a scientist, and seemed to be living a quiet American life. Until, at 26, she became a general manager of a shady import-export firm, suspected of funneling US technology to Beijing. The FBI flagged her, opened a case, then let it die without ever speaking to her. But JJ Smith decided to change that. It started as a formal sit-down interview, but something happened in that room. Strangely, Katrina Leung wasn't nervous. She wasn't evasive. She was cooperative. Perhaps a little too cooperative. JJ found himself interviewing her again, 4 more times that year.
A source like that can provide information about Chinese government officials, intelligence officers, what their goals are, what their objectives are, what they're trying to accomplish.
At this time, intelligence on China was hard to get, but a good source could help make or break a career.
You were judged. Your promotions and your performance appraisals, how you were rated, difference between being exceptional and average would be a great deal dependent on how well you were able to develop sources.
By the end of 1982, JJ convinces the Bureau to flip her into an informant. She accepts, but why? Did she actually have any meaningful information to share? JJ would find out. But for now, Katrina Leung was an FBI asset. His asset. He gave her the code name, Parlour Maid. But within months, the line between informant and handler began to blur. The 29-year-old Parlour Maid seduced the 39-year-old JJ. Their meetings fell into a routine. He would visit her house up to 3 times a week. They would have sex, and then afterwards, JJ would leave the room to have a cigarette. Smith would leave his briefcase open. This enabled her to see the documents that she wanted. She would remove them and photocopy them while he was gone. JJ had been compromised. But he wasn't the only one. 400 miles away in the FBI's San Francisco office, Agent Bill Cleveland was chasing a nuclear engineer suspected of passing secrets to China, Guo Bao Min. But prosecuting him wasn't going to be easy. Cleveland built a small team, including J.J. Smith, who offered up his prized informant, the Parlour Maid, to help. Shortly after, she was working directly with Cleveland. Married, devoutly religious, and a father, Bill Cleveland was fluent in Mandarin and fascinated by Chinese culture. That shared language drew him to the Parlour Maid. Soon, they too were sleeping together. Neither man knew it, but they were in a dangerous love triangle. For the Parlour Maid, the affairs didn't slow her down. If anything, she became more valuable to the Bureau. Her reports didn't just sit in some FBI file room, they went all the way to the top. During her tenure, her intel made it to the desk of 4 US presidents. She was plugged into places the FBI couldn't easily reach. She tracked Chinese consulate officials moving between San Francisco and Los Angeles. After the Tiananmen Square massacre and protests, she traveled back to China and fed back rare details about the political mood inside Beijing's elite circles. This kind of intelligence was gold, and she was one of the only people able to get it. It was so valuable that the FBI began paying her, far more than most informants could ever dream of. Over her career, the FBI paid her a staggering $1.7 million.
Most people don't know what the value of the information was, but it's very unusual that any information is worth $1.7 million.
And it showed. She bought a mansion in LA's upscale San Marino neighborhood. I ran a background report on Katrina Leung and managed to find the mansion in question, purchased for $1.36 million. Today, it's valued at over $5 million. All the while, she was also rising in Chinese American social circles. Her influence stretched all the way to the Chinese president Yang Shekun. They were so close that once he authorized a personal gift to her of $100,000. But this gift didn't come for free. China also had a reason to keep Leung close by. After the death of Chairman Mao, Deng Xiaoping launched the Reform and Opening Up policy. Deng recognized China's economic lag was a problem, and they needed to catch up. China aggressively stole military technology and technology in economic sectors. Human sources like Katrina Leung, ones that were so well connected in the US, played a key role in these espionage efforts, providing critical intelligence to support China's goals. But while China moved forward to steal US technology secrets, the FBI had to try and race to fill the leaks. Back in San Francisco, Agent Bill Cleveland was deep in the Tiger Trap case, still chasing Guo Baomin, a nuclear engineer suspected of funneling secrets to Beijing. But beneath the surface, the cracks were showing.
They have a full counterintelligence investigation on the guy. They have wiretaps and so forth. But the whole thing seems to come down to, and as Cleveland told me this, he said you either have to catch him in the act or they have to confess.
Cleveland pressed Guo relentlessly through multiple interviews, but he never confessed. The case went cold. Cleveland had no choice but to let Guo Baomin go free. A few months later, Cleveland took an assignment in China. A welcome break for him after years of chasing dead ends. But whilst there in China, in a crowded market, he froze. In front of him was Guo Baomin, the man he'd spent years chasing in the US. The odds of bumping into him here in a nation of over 1 billion people? Astronomical. And yet, there he was, right in front of him. How? When Cleveland returned to the US and found out the answer to this question, it would shock him to his core. When Cleveland was back in the US, he got an urgent call from agents in San Francisco. They'd intercepted a conversation between a Chinese Ministry of State Security agent. China's MSS is like a blend between the FBI and CIA. And this MSS agent was speaking with a woman called Luau. They patched Cleveland in to listen to the recording. Recognize either voice, one agent asked. The tape rolled. The female, who went by Luau, was her, Katrina Leung, the Parlour Maid, the FBI's star informant, and Cleveland's lover. To his shock, she was discussing his classified recent trip to China.
He says to China he will be there a week.
Suddenly, the random encounter with Guo Baomin made sense. China knew he'd be there because the Parlour Maid had told them. Several weeks later, JJ and Bill Cleveland are summoned into Washington, D.C. to discuss the Parlour Maid with their supervisors. There were other agents present, but the only other name we know at the meeting was Paul Moore, the FBI's top China analyst. No one in the room knew both men were sleeping with her. If it came out, their careers were finished. But to JJ and Bill Cleveland's shock, Paul Moore decided to keep Parlour Maid on as an informant. Risky, but he deemed her intel too valuable to let it go. The plan moving forward was to feed her chicken feed, the spy term for useless intel. All the while, they would keep receiving reports about China. JJ was told to handle it.
Operating a source always is going to be a value judgment of how much you give the informant in order to get your results from the informant. You try to make sure you give less than you get.
Over time, JJ began to blur the lines between handling a source and protecting one, convinced that his star informant would afford him privileges few other agents had.
This source allowed him to be almost bulletproof. And what I mean by that is, I've got this great source, so I'm not going to ever be transferred like 99% of FBI agents are. I've got this great source, so I can meet this source by myself. I've got this great source, so that means that I can openly socialize with that individual.
Parlour Maid remained undetected for the next 8 years until JJ retired in the year 2000. Only then did the true horrors of the last 18 years become apparent. In September 2001, the FBI got a new director, Robert Mueller. Within months, Mueller gets a tip-off about JJ Smith, Parlour Maid, and their inappropriate relationship. Mueller does what no one else did in 20 years. He orders an investigation.
Accordingly, within days after the allegations of former Agent Smith's misconduct were first brought to my attention, we appointed Assistant United States Attorney Randy Bellows as special counsel and asked him to conduct a preliminary inquiry. Upon Mr. Bellows' recommendation, we appointed an inspector in charge to lead an investigation into the allegations and the integrity of the China counterintelligence program in the Los Angeles field office.
Over 13 months, a 30-person task force surveilled JJ and Katrina Leung, trying to find out what was going on between the two.
On November 11, 2002, I participated in a covert search of Leung's luggage at Los Angeles International Airport. Prior to Leung's departure for the PRC, in Leung's luggage there was a cover sheet from Smith to Leung. A second page bearing the same telephone number across the top bore 6 photographs from a meeting of the Society of Former Special Agents of the FBI held in October 2002. 2 of the photographs were of active duty special agents. On November 25, 2002, I participated in a similar covert search of Leung's luggage at LAX when Leung returned from the PRC. Photographs FBI agents observed in Leung's luggage for her outbound flight on November 11, 2002 were not present in her luggage when she returned.
Then came the photo taken after JJ's retirement, showing them together with no reason to be. The final straw was during electronic surveillance of Smith and Leung at a hotel in the Los Angeles area. The electronic surveillance revealed Smith and Leung having sexual relations. JJ had been retired 2 years at this point. The FBI had had enough. It was time to make a move. In May 2003 at dawn, agents raided both JJ and Leung's homes. In her safe, they found a stack of sensitive FBI directories and material she had no right to possess. She was charged with 5 felonies for possessing and copying national defense documents and jailed for 3 months awaiting trial. JJ Smith was charged with 1 count of gross negligence in handling national defense documents and 1 count of wire fraud for misusing government resources for personal benefit. He was not imprisoned. Bill Cleveland was brought in for questioning and admitted to his affair, but was not charged due to there being no proof he shared sensitive information with Leung. It should have been a blockbuster trial, but instead, it unraveled almost instantly. In May 2004, 1 year later, JJ pled guilty to a reduced misdemeanor, lying to the FBI about his affair with Leung. Under questioning, he admitted everything: the relationship, leaking case details, and burying negative reports to hide the affair. His sentence was 3 months home confinement, 3 years probation, and a $10,000 fine. he was allowed to keep his FBI pension. But what happened next was stranger still. As part of his plea deal, the prosecutors gagged JJ. They stopped him from talking about the case. But Katrina Leung's defense were going to use JJ as one of their main witnesses. His plea deal violated her rights. The judge had no choice but to dismiss the case. Insane. Leung ultimately pled guilty to 2 felonies, lying to the FBI and filing a false tax return. For this, she got probation, 100 hours community service, and a $10,000 fine. No prison. She kept her comfortable life as a millionaire in the US, where she still remains today. I suspect the FBI never really wanted this case to go to trial anyway. Too much dirty laundry. They were worried that if JJ got up and took the stand, he might reveal how deep the rot actually went. The moment the prosecutors gagged him, they knew the case was dead. Speaking of dirty laundry though, in 2009, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco and Firearms hatched an insane plan to allow thousands of firearms to go into the hands of the Mexican drug cartels. It was a story that, when it came out, shocked America. And you should watch my video on it right now.